The phone call lasted 6 minutes. That is the entire length of it. 6 minutes. She called to tell them her husband had died. The person on the other end was kind, took the date, canceled his payments, explained the $255 death benefit and how it would arrive, asked if there was anything else. She said no, because she did not know there was anything else. And then they hung up, and the call was over, and the file was closed. Inside those 6 minutes, there was one sentence that was never said. One form number, 4 characters long, that nobody read out loud to her. That form was worth $412,800 to the woman on that phone. Nobody lied to her. Nobody denied her anything. There is no villain in that phone call. The representative answered exactly what she asked, and she asked what any of us would have asked, and the money stayed where it was. I want to tell you the single most important thing about how Social Security actually works, and once you understand it, everything else in this video will make sense. Most people think of it as a benefits agency, something that looks at your situation and decides what you are owed. That is not what it is. It is a processing agency. It pays what you filed for. It holds everything else. It has your work record, it has your husband's work record, it has your late wife's work record, it has the record from the job you had for 11 years in the 1970s. All of it is sitting in the same system, under the same roof, and it does not cross-reference any of it on your behalf, because nobody there has that job. That job does not exist. There is no department of making sure you got the right amount. There is no annual review. There is no letter that says, "We noticed you are receiving $800 less per month than the law allows." There is an application, and there is a person who processes it, and there is everything you did not apply for, sitting exactly where it has always been sitting. So today I'm going to give you 7 forms. Every one of them exists. Every one of them is free. Every one of them releases money or protects money that federal law already says is yours. And not one of them has ever arrived in your mailbox. I'm going to give them to you in a very specific order, and I want you to stay with me through all 7, because the order matters. The first one is the foundation. If that one is wrong, every other number in your life is wrong. And the 5th form has the shortest deadline of anything I have ever covered on this channel. 12 months, one time in your entire life, and when it closes, it never opens again for you. Do not skip ahead to it. The reason it matters is built in the sections before it. My name is Kevin. Every week I go looking for the rule that quietly decides what happens to your money, and I bring it here before it costs you anything. If that is useful to you, subscribe and turn on the bell. There is a great deal of noise about Social Security, and almost none of it tells you which paper to file. Let us start with the foundation. Form SSA 7008, Request for Correction of Earnings Record. Verified card. Source, Social Security Administration, Form SSA 7008, Request for Correction of Earnings Record. Here is why this one comes first. Your entire Social Security benefit, every dollar of it for the rest of your life, is calculated from one thing, your lifetime earnings record. Specifically, your highest 35 years of earnings. That is the formula. Verified card. Source. Social Security benefits are calculated using the highest 35 years of a worker's indexed earnings, which means if a single year is missing from that record or understated, your benefit was calculated low, permanently, every month, forever. Now let me show you how often this actually happens, because the number is going to shock you. The Social Security Administration maintains something called the Earnings Suspense File. It is where wages go when the agency receives a report of money somebody earned but cannot match it to a specific person's record. Wrong Social Security number on a W-2. A name that does not match because of a marriage or divorce. An employer's clerical error. A typo made by somebody in 1983 who has been retired for 20 years. That file currently holds over $1.9 trillion in wages that were earned by real people and never posted to anybody's record. Verified card. Source. A Social Security Administration Inspector General audit reported the earnings suspense file contained more than $1.9 trillion in unmatched wages, and roughly 8.5 million wage items are added to it every single year. Verified card. Source. Approximately 8.5 million wage items are added annually that cannot be posted to an individual worker's record. Let me say what that actually is. plainly. That is the largest pile of unclaimed American labor in the history of this country. Work that was performed, taxes that were paid, credit that was never given. And I have never once heard a politician of either party say those words out loud. Purvis is 74. He worked 38 years, most of it in machine shops around Muncie, Indiana. He pulled his earnings statement 2 years ago for the first time in his life, mostly out of curiosity. 1981 was blank. 1982 was blank. He worked both of those years. He remembers the shop. He remembers the foreman's name. The company was sold in 1984, and the payroll records went with it. 2 blank years inside his highest 35, which means for every month of his retirement, his check has been calculated as though he sat at home for 2 years of his working life. Now here is the rule I need you to hear, and it is uncomfortable. There is a legal time limit on correcting your earnings record. 3 years, 3 months, and 15 days after the year the wages were paid. Verified card. Source. Federal law generally limits corrections to a Social Security earnings record to 3 years, 3 months, and 15 days after the year in which the wages were paid. After that, the record is what the law calls conclusive. It is treated as correct whether it is correct or not. But listen closely, because there are real exceptions, and they cover most of the situations people actually run into. If the employer failed to report the wages. If there is an error the agency can confirm on the face of its own records. If you have a tax return that was filed on time, showing those earnings. In those cases, corrections can be made long past the deadline. Verified card. Source. Exceptions permit correction after the time limit for employer reporting failures, errors on the face of the record, and earnings supported by a timely filed tax return. Which means the question is not whether you are too late. The question is whether you can prove it happened. Old W-2 forms, tax returns, pay stubs, a union record, anything with your name and a number on it. Do this. This week, go to ssa.gov, sign into your account, and open your earnings record. Read it year by year, from the first year you worked to the last. Look for a 0 in a year you know you worked. Look for a number that seems far too small. If you find one, request Form SSA 7008 and start gathering paper. And I want to say something about that specific act, because I know exactly what it feels like to sit down with a list of years and try to remember 1981. It is tedious, it is boring, it feels like nothing. It is also, on an hourly basis, quite possibly the best paid 30 minutes of your entire retirement. Form 2. Form SSA 2. Application for Spouse's Insurance Benefits. Verified card. Source. Social Security Administration. Form SSA 2. Application for Spouse's Insurance Benefits. Under federal law, a husband or wife is entitled to up to 50% of the higher earning spouse's benefit amount at full retirement age. Verified card. Source. A spouse may be entitled to up to 50% of the higher earning spouse's primary insurance amount. 50%. Regardless of what you personally earned. If you spent 20 years raising children, if you worked part-time for most of your life, if you were a caregiver for a parent for 8 years in the middle of your career, the spousal benefit does not care. It is calculated off your husband's or your wife's record, not yours. And here is the structural problem, and I want to be precise about it because this is not a conspiracy, it is a design. When you go to the Social Security website and file for retirement, the system presents you with an application built on your own earnings record. It asks about you. It calculates your number. It processes what you submitted. It does not stop and ask what your spouse's benefit is. It does not run the 50% comparison. It does not surface Form SSA-2 and ask whether you would like that one instead. Now, I want to be fair here. If the agency has both records connected and the spouse is already collecting, the system often does catch this. But often is not always, and the people it misses never find out they were missed. And here is my honest opinion about that, and some of you will disagree. The online application was built to be efficient. It was not built to be complete. Efficient means it processes what you typed in without wasting anybody's time. Complete would mean it tells you what else you might qualify for. Those are two different products, and the agency built the first one and spent years encouraging everybody to use it. Now let me give you the part of this form that almost nobody knows about. If you were married for at least 10 years and you are now divorced, you can still claim on your ex-husband's or ex-wife's record. Verified card. Source. A divorced spouse may be entitled to benefits on a former spouse's record if the marriage lasted at least 10 years and the applicant is currently unmarried. You must currently be unmarried. Your former spouse must be at least 62. You do not need their permission. You do not need their cooperation. They are never notified. And what you receive does not reduce their check by a single penny. Loyce is 68. She lives in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. She was married for 19 years to a man who made a great deal more money than she ever did, and that marriage ended badly in 1996. She has not spoken to him since. She would not want to. She assumed, the way almost everybody assumes, that when the marriage ended, everything attached to it ended too. It did not. 19 years is well past the 10-year line. She has been unmarried ever since. Her own benefit is a little over $900. Half of his is a great deal more than that. And the thing that kept her from filing for 11 years was not paperwork. It was that she genuinely believed she would have to contact him, that somebody would tell him, that she would have to ask a man she left for a reason. None of that is true. Not one word of it. The agency has both records already. It does not require his signature, his awareness, or his opinion. If you were married 10 years or longer and you are single now, make the call. Form 3. This is the one from the phone call at the beginning of this video. Form SSA-10, Application for Widows or Widowers Insurance Benefits. Verified card. Source, Social Security Administration, Form SSA-10, Application for Widows or Widowers Insurance Benefits. Under federal law, a surviving spouse can receive up to 100% of what the deceased spouse was receiving. Verified card. Source. A surviving spouse may be entitled to up to 100% of the deceased worker's benefit amount. The full amount. Not half, not a reduced share. The whole check your husband or wife was getting. And now I need you to understand exactly what does and does not trigger that. Filing for your own retirement benefit does not trigger it. Your spouse dying does not trigger it. Calling the agency to report the death does not trigger it. The funeral director filing the death notice does not trigger it. For only Form SSA-10 triggers it. For Wanetta is 71. She lives outside Cape Girardeau, Missouri. She retired from a hospital laundry and filed for her own Social Security at 63. Her benefit is $1,190 a month. Her husband drove a truck for 31 years. His benefit at the time he died was $2,910. She made the 6-minute phone call, the one from the beginning of this video. For the difference between those two numbers is $1,720 every month. For now, let me show you the full arithmetic because I do not want to put a number in front of you that I have not walked you through. For $1,720 a month is $20,640 a year. Wanetta is 71. A woman her age, on average, has around 20 more years ahead of her. $20,640 a year over 20 years is $412,800. I want to be completely straight with you about what that figure is, because you are going to see numbers like it thrown around, and most of the people throwing them around will not do this part. That is not money she lost the day of the phone call. That is what it costs across the rest of her life if the form is never filed at all. If she files this month, she does not lose anywhere close to that. She loses what has already gone by, and she gets the higher check from here on. So the $412,000 is the ceiling, not the bill. It is the size of the thing sitting on the table, and I would rather show you the ceiling honestly than shout a number at you and hope you do not check the math. But here is what makes this urgent, and this part is not soft. The retroactive window on survivor benefits is generally capped at 6 months. Verified card. Source. Social Security generally pays no more than 6 months of retroactive survivor benefits before the month of application. 6 months. That is the whole look back. Every month beyond that which passes without Form SSA-10 on file is a month that does not come back. Not by appeal, not by hardship, not by explaining what that year was like. If you are widowed and collecting Social Security right now, do this before you do anything else today. Open your account or find your benefit letter and look at what category you are being paid under. If it says retirement insurance benefit and your late husband or wife had a higher benefit than yours, you may be exactly where Wanetta is. Call 1-800-772-1213. And do not ask a general question, because a general question gets a general answer. Say this: I want a written comparison of my current retirement benefit and the survivor benefit I would qualify for on my late spouse's record, and I want to file Form SSA-10. Write down the representative's name. Write down the date. I built the quiet rules for the exact 6 minutes that open this video, because the failure in that phone call was not the representative and it was not Wanetta. It was that the only person in the conversation who knew the right question to ask was not on the call. That is what the guide is. It is the questions in order for the moments where nobody is going to prompt you. Which form goes with which situation? The exact sentence to say on the phone so the person on the other end has to run the calculation. Which clocks are running and from what date they start counting. Written large and written plain. So it is in the drawer before the week arrives, not looked for afterward. It is at kevinexplains.shop. Link in the description, pinned comment at the top, or scan the code on your screen right now. 7-day guarantee. If it does not put something in your hands you did not have, send it back. Form 4. And this one is for the people who have already been through it. Form SSA 1724. Claim for amounts due in the case of a deceased beneficiary. Verified card. Source: Social Security Administration. Form SSA 1724. Claim for amounts due in the case of a deceased beneficiary. Here's the situation this fixes, and it happens constantly. Social Security pays a month behind. The payment that shows up in your account in June is the benefit for May. Verified card. Source: Social Security benefits are paid in the month following the month for which they are due. So if your husband lived through all of May, he earned May's benefit. That money is his, but it arrives in June. And if he died in early June, that deposit gets pulled back out of the account automatically because the bank is required by law to return federal payments received after the date of death. Verified card. Source: Financial institutions are required to return federal benefit payments received after a beneficiary's date of death. Now sit with what just happened. He earned that month. He lived every day of it. The money went back anyway. It is not gone. It becomes what the agency calls an underpayment, and it sits there waiting to be claimed. And it is claimed with Form SSA 1724 by the surviving spouse, or the children, or the estate, in an order set out in the law. Verified card. Source: An unpaid amount due a deceased beneficiary may be claimed by a surviving spouse, children, parents, or the legal representative of the estate under priorities established in law. Otis died on the 4th of a month in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He had lived every single day of the month before it. That benefit was his. He earned it. It landed in the account on the 3rd Wednesday, the way it always had, and 11 days later the bank pulled it back out. His daughter saw the reversal on the statement and assumed it was correct because it looked official, and because she was in the middle of burying her father and had roughly 40 other things in front of her. Nobody at the bank explained it. Nobody at the bank is required to. The bank did exactly what the law told it to do. That money went back to the agency and sat there, and it is still sitting there, and it will keep sitting there until somebody in that family fills out 4 pages and mails them. That is not a large amount of money compared to the other forms in this video, but it is his last month of work, and it belongs to his family, and it is not going to move on its own. The same form also covers a Medicare premium refund if premiums were deducted for a month after death. This form cannot be filed online. It is printed, signed, and delivered or mailed to a Social Security office. If you hand it in, ask them to stamp your copy. If you mail it, send it certified. 6 weeks later, that copy is the only proof you have. Form 5. This is the one I told you to wait for, the shortest clock on this channel. Form SSA 521. Request for withdrawal of application. Verified card. Source: Social Security Administration, Form SSA 521, Request for withdrawal of application. Here is what this form does, and almost nobody knows it exists. If you filed for Social Security and you now think you filed too early, you can cancel that application entirely, withdraw it, undo it. The agency treats it as though you never applied at all. Verified card. Source. A withdrawn application is treated as though it was never filed, and the individual may reapply later. Then, later, you file again at an older age and a higher amount, and that higher amount is what you receive for the rest of your life. Now here are the conditions, and every single one of them matters. You must do it within 12 months of when you became entitled to benefits. Verified card. Source. An application may be withdrawn up to 12 months after entitlement to retirement benefits begins. You must repay everything, every check you received, every check a spouse or child received on your record, every dollar withheld from Medicare premiums or taxes. Verified card. Source. Withdrawal requires repayment of all benefits received on the application, including benefits paid to family members and amounts withheld for Medicare premiums and taxes. Anyone else drawing on your record has to consent in writing, and you get this once, one time in your entire life. There is no second withdrawal, ever. Verified card. Source. Withdrawal of a retirement application is limited to one time per lifetime. Now, why would anybody go through all of that? Because for every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age, up to age 70, your benefit increases by roughly 8%. Verified card. Source. Delayed retirement credits increase a retirement benefit by approximately 8% for each year benefits are delayed past full retirement age until age 70. And if you claimed at 62, you accepted a permanent reduction of roughly 25 to 30% for the rest of your life. Verified card. Source. Claiming retirement benefits at age 62 results in a permanent reduction of approximately 25 to 30% from the full retirement age amount. Harlan is 63. He lives in Sedalia, Missouri. He filed at 62, in a bad month, because his hours got cut and he needed something coming in. 4 months later, he was offered steady work again and took it and has been working ever since. He is now collecting a permanently reduced check he does not currently need on top of a paycheck. His 12-month window is still open, barely. If he withdraws, he repays what he has taken, and when he files again later, the number is meaningfully larger for the rest of his life. If he waits 4 more months and thinks about it, that door closes and never reopens. Now, I have to be honest with you about this one, more honest than most people are. This form is not right for most people. If you needed that money, you needed it. Repaying a year of benefits in one lump is not something most households can do, and there is no shame in that whatsoever. And if you are in poor health, delaying a check to get a bigger one later can be exactly the wrong trade. But if you filed in the last 12 months, and your circumstances changed after you filed, and you can repay it, this is one of the only genuine undo buttons in American retirement law. Call and ask this. Is Form SSA 521 still available on my account, and what is my exact deadline? Ask for the date. Write it down. Form 6. And this one comes with money you may already be owed back. Every month, Medicare takes your Part B premium out of your Social Security check before you ever see it. This year, that is $202.90 a month. Verified card. Source. The standard Medicare Part B premium for this year. Confirm current figure before recording. If your income is below certain limits, your state is authorized to pay that premium for you. Those are the Medicare savings programs, and they exist in every state. Verified card. Source. Medicare savings programs are administered by state Medicaid agencies and can pay the Medicare Part B premium for qualifying individuals. I have covered that ground before on this channel, so today I want to give you the part I have never covered, because it is the part that comes with a refund. The top tier of that program is called QMB, Qualified Medicare Beneficiary. And under federal law, if you are enrolled in QMB, a medical provider is prohibited from billing you for Medicare copays, deductibles, or coinsurance. Verified card. Source. Federal law prohibits providers from billing individuals enrolled in the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program for Medicare cost sharing. Not discounted. Not reduced. Prohibited. And here's the thing almost nobody knows, including a great many front desks and billing departments. If you are enrolled in QMB and you were billed anyway, that bill was improper. And if you paid it, you are entitled to a refund. Verified card. Source. Improper billing of a qualified Medicare beneficiary is prohibited, and individuals who paid such charges may be entitled to a refund. That is not a favor you are asking for. That is federal law being enforced. And if you are not sure whether you are enrolled in QMB, that is a fair question, because a great many people are enrolled and do not know the name of the thing they are enrolled in. Call your state Medicaid office and ask them directly which Medicare Savings Program tier you are in, if any. Ask them to say the tier out loud and write it down. Then, if the answer is QMB, go back through the last year of medical bills you paid. If you are QMB enrolled, say this at the desk before you pay anything. I am enrolled in the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program. Federal law prohibits billing me for Medicare cost sharing. Please check my status before you bill me. 9 times out of 10, the person in front of you is not doing anything wrong on purpose. They simply have never had anybody say that sentence to them before. Form 7. And this one is different from the other 6, so pay attention to the difference. Every other form on this list gets you money. This one does not get you $1. It stops you from losing one. Form W4V. Voluntary Withholding Request. Verified card. Source. Internal Revenue Service, Form W4V. Voluntary Withholding Request. Here's the thing a great many people do not find out until it is too late. Social Security benefits can be taxable. Depending on your total income, up to 85% of your benefit can be subject to federal income tax. Verified card. Source. Up to 85% of Social Security benefits may be subject to federal income tax depending on combined income. And by default, nothing is withheld. Nothing. Your employer withheld taxes from every paycheck of your working life without ever asking you. It was automatic. You never thought about it once. The day you retired, that stopped. And nobody told you it stopped. So people collect all year, spend what arrives because it is what arrives, and then in April there is a bill they did not know was coming and no money set aside to pay it. Form W4V lets you have federal tax withheld from your Social Security payment. You pick the percentage from a short list of options. Verified card. Source. Form W4V allows voluntary federal income tax withholding from Social Security benefits at set percentage rates. Your monthly check gets smaller. That is the trade, and I will not pretend otherwise. But nothing arrives in April that you were not expecting, and that is worth a great deal more than most people realize until the year they find out. Now, I want to come back to the 6-month rule because I have been thinking about it for weeks, and I have something to say about it. 6 months of retroactive survivor benefits. That is the cap. Wanetta lost everything past that window. So where did 6 months come from? That cap goes back generations, to a time when the whole design assumption about widows was different. The survivor benefit was built as bridging income, short-term support for a woman who, in the world the rule was written in, was expected to remarry within a few years. That was the picture in somebody's head when that number was chosen. 6 months to sort yourself out and file. Now look at the world that rule actually operates in today. Women outlive their husbands by years and often by decades. Most do not remarry. The survivor benefit is not bridging income anymore, it is the rest of her life. And that 6-month cap has not moved. I will say plainly what I think about that. That is not a rule. That is a fossil. It is a number chosen for a world that stopped existing 2 generations ago, still quietly deciding what a woman in Missouri receives in 2026. And in all these years, nobody has been required to fix the smaller thing either. Nobody is required to say the words Form SSA 10 out loud to a widow on the phone. Not the agency, not the funeral home, not the bank. Everything in this video comes down to one sentence, and I want you to have it. The money is not hidden. The paperwork is not hard. What is missing is somebody telling you which paper in the week it matters. That is the entire job I set out to do with the quiet rules. Every form matched to the moment it belongs to. What to do in the first 90 days after losing a spouse, in order. The exact words that make a phone call produce an answer instead of a runaround. The clocks, and the dates they start counting from. One place, plain language, large print, sitting in a drawer before the week arrives. KevinExplains.shop. It is in the description and in the pinned comment, or scan the code on your screen. 7 days to look it over. If it is not what you needed, send it back, and that is the end of it. Before your checklist, 2 honest cautions. First, none of these forms are quick money. There is no form here that pays out next week. Most take weeks to process, and several require documents you will have to go find. Anybody promising you a fast payout from Social Security is selling you something, and it is not this. Second, nobody from Social Security is going to call you about any of this. If your phone rings and somebody says they are from the agency and they have found money for you, hang up. That call is always a scam. Always. You call them. They do not call you. That one rule will protect you from nearly everything in this space. Here is your checklist. 7 forms, 7 actions. 1. Pull your earnings record this week and read it year by year. If a year you worked shows 0, request Form SSA 7008 and start looking for proof. 2. If you are married, or you were married for 10 years or more and are single now, call and ask them to calculate what you would receive under Form SSA 2. You do not need a former spouse's permission, and they are never told. 3. If you are widowed and collecting your own retirement benefit, call today and ask for a written comparison against the survivor benefit, and ask to file Form SSA 10. The 6-month clock is running while you decide. 4. If you lost a husband or wife and a final payment was pulled back out of the account, that money became an underpayment. Form SSA 1724 claims it. 5. If you filed for Social Security in the last 12 months and your situation has changed, call this week and ask whether Form SSA 521 is still available and what your exact deadline is. One time in your life, no extensions. 6. If you are enrolled in QMB and a provider has billed you for copays, those charges were improper and you may be owed a refund. Ask for it. 7. If nothing is being withheld from your Social Security for taxes and you have other income, file Form W4V now rather than finding out in April. 7 forms, somewhere between 30 minutes and a few hours of your time, spread across the next few weeks. I want to leave you back where we started. 6 minutes on the phone, a kind person on the other end, a file closed properly, nothing done wrong by anybody, and a form number that nobody said out loud. The system is not cruel. It is worse than cruel in a way, because you cannot argue with it. It is indifferent. It processes what you file, it holds what you do not, and it waits. So go be the person who files. Pull the record, make the call, ask for the comparison in writing. Nobody is coming to do it for you, and that is not a complaint, it is just the truth, and the truth is easier to work with than the alternative. I am Kevin. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to check the quiet rules at kevinexplains.shop.